Secretary Berglund, as you know, was quite supportive of this and in fact requested the study. He's been misunderstood and misrepresented on this, as many have. I know Bob Berglund, and he would be the last person to want to throw the baby out with the bathwater and say that we ought to switch totally to organic farming systems immediately and that kind of thing. But he was aware from his own farming experience and some of the not relatives, but friends who farm near him, of some very successful operations. And so it seemed logical, and many others feel it was logical, to ask the question, how many others are doing this? And how do you account for their success? How can they be this productive without the use of chemicals? In some cases none, or very limited sparing amounts of chemical inputs. And so that's really what spawned the study, was his desire to simply find out a little bit more about what was going on. Because at that time, very little work had been done, virtually none.
We're talking about your work in Washington when you first came.
Yes.
And how exciting that was.
Well, it was a very exciting period because there was a lot of support from the secretarial level. And as I mentioned, the department had assembled a wonderful team of scientists, chaired by Bob Pappendick from an ARS scientist stationed at Pullman, Washington, people like Jim Parr and Jim Swan and others. We had a team of about 10 or 12 individuals who worked at various points along the way on this report, which was finally published in the spring of, or perhaps early summer of 1980. I don't remember the exact date. But we made the decision early on as a team to go out and do farm-level interviews. And in retrospect, that was clearly the most critical decision we made. I think if we had done a laboratory kind of report, it would have sounded a lot different. But because, and perhaps this is worth pointing out, most of the scientists who became part of that team did it because they had curious minds and they were good scientists. But I don't think they came to the project with any preconceived ideas that they were going to be terribly impressed with what they found. But they were willing to go out and look. And I still hold them in high regard for that reason. So the decision was made to go out and do on-farm case studies, and we did 69, a few in all 10 production regions in the United States. And frankly, we're just very impressed with what we found. And we would come back and sort of debrief each other on the farm visits we had done and what we had found. And it was interesting to see how the enthusiasm of the team, particularly those that had gone out and done interviews, began to build over the course of the summer and into the fall as we completed the interviews. Because these, as I say, these were high-level, top-level, top-drawer scientists who were finding some things in the soil structure, soil quality, life of the soil, soil microbiology, in these organic farms that obviously had been using green manures in the rotation and applying animal manures and reincorporating crop residues properly and so forth. They were just very, very impressive. And so the feeling on the team, at least, by the time we were ready to write the report, was that this is something worth looking at. Again, no one was saying we ought to drop all of the chemicals and start farming organically universally in the country, but there was a clear feeling that this was a productive, viable option or alternative for farmers that deserved some support. And so we recommended, I think, 10 pages of research that we thought could usefully be done by USDA.